Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. I'm going to paraphrase something that I once heard. Water has no mouth, and yet it swallows up many things. Light has no fingers, but it touches everything we see. The wind has no feet, and still it carries things away. And darkness has no teeth, but it eventually devours everything. Our scenario is entitled Fingerbiter. It was written by Mcdougal Tower, and this is episode 1. It is once again my pleasure to be your game master. But before we begin, I would like to introduce the players and their characters. First off, we have Jeff Wilkins.
Hey everybody, you're saying I should introduce my character now, or?
Yeah, introduce your character.
So my character is George Hampton. He's a journalist, although he's been known to kind of stretch the truth a little bit. He writes for like a Weird Things magazine, so he's willing to stretch the truth to get a good story. And as a side note, he sometimes dabbles in the underworld, I guess, like with gambling and crooks and stuff, so.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Let's see. Next, we have Levi.
My character is Francis Quinn. He is a dilettante from Cincinnati, Ohio. Raised by his father after his mother's death, and his father passed away when he was age 6. So lived with his grandfather, who eventually passed his Quinn family fortune on to Francis, and now he's began studies in the occult.
Cool. Next, we have Kurt Leblanc.
Hey everybody, I'm playing Alexander Dresden, expatriate author, grew up near Arkham, educated at Brown, spent the last few years post-college wandering around Europe, being very poor and very happy, having a movable feast of my own, and trying to put off writing as much as I could after the success of my first novel, Bury Not the Dead. It got international acclaim and helped me transition from being a starving artist to a comfortable artist, but also introducing me to a new echelon of social circles where I'm at the Blue Rose Society. We've been going on investigations, helping me get ideas for stories, but having too much fun to actually start my next book.
Okay, and last but not least, Mick.
Hello, my character is Albert Phipps, or Bertie to his friends. He's the eldest son of Lord and Lady Stackton of Stackton Trestle in Barsetshire. He was educated at Eton and Magdalen College, Oxford. He likes his coffee black, his cigarettes Turkish, and his whiskey however it comes. He bored of the indolence of society life and gentlemen's clubs, and has sought out the mysterious and the outre by way of diversion. At first via occult societies like the Golden Dawn, when that was in vogue, and latterly through membership of this society.
Cool. Thanks, Mick. Okay, I can see that the players are ready. Let's begin our journey into the darkness. It has been a gloomy afternoon in London, despite it being the middle of summer, and clouds are rolling in as twilight settles over the town. The year is 1921, mid-August. A few key members of the Blue Rose Society, a paranormal investigation club, has been summoned by Mr. Alexander Dresden to discuss a matter of great importance.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming today. I'd like to think that I can trust and count on you all for assistance in a very urgent matter. I received a letter recently which has been very troubling to me, and will need your help to help me find and help my friend Clarence. Clarence and I, sorry, very, very disheveled right now. Clarence and I grew up together near Arkham. We spent every summer together as children, and I am afraid he's got himself into some trouble. according to this letter. I'm going to read this to you all. To my dear friend Alex, it's been quite a while since we last corresponded, and I hope this letter finds you in good health. Those summers we spent exploring the backwoods near Arkham are still quite vivid in my memory. My dear friend, I need your immediate help. I am in serious peril. The nature of this trouble is far more relevant to your Blue Rose Society than something mundane. I am not, at present, in the USA. I am in a small village of Dunval in northern Scotland. I journeyed to Scotland some months ago to conduct genealogical research for my family. My research went well, then I met with a terrible disaster. At first, I doubted the true horror of my experience, but at this time, the truth is undeniable. I must ask for your help in this matter, for I feel that you might well be my only salvation. If you can, bring assistance, some members of your club who might be able to discover what is happening to me and how to stop it. Come quickly, please. Sincerely, Clarence. Oh, Clarence, what have you gotten yourself into now?
Yeah, it doesn't mean on much detail, but it certainly sounds like he's in trouble.
Yes, I wish you would have told us a little bit more so we could know what to be prepared for.
Yeah.
A geologist, eh?
Genealogical research into his family.
Oh, genealogist. Oh, I thought it said geologist. I do beg your pardon.
Yes.
Ah, Mcdougal's.
How far is Dunval from here?
Your best guess is it would take you the better part of a day to drive up there.
Day's travel.
I say we prepare to go at once, gentlemen, if you'll be willing to assist.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course.
All right. I'll give you an opportunity to prepare if you want to do anything. Or, of course, you don't really have any details. So.
Well, sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm already packed just in anticipation of all of your arrival. I'm very, very antsy, as you can see.
I'll just pack a standard country case.
Okay.
I guess there's no telling how long we'll be gone for. Should we plan for like a week or an overnight?
Yeah.
Hopefully we can solve or debunk whatever's going on quickly. And out of game, I understand that we're kind of a team of investigators. We've been paranormal enthusiasts.
Well, the Blue Rose Society, like the Arcane Society in the United States, kind of consists of two different groups. And the two groups are the people who like to come and look at slideshows about ghosts, and the people who actually have some inside knowledge about what's really going on out there. And you're probably more in line with that. As a result, 99% of what you would do would be debunking. You'd find all the fakes. It's the ones that you can't debunk and actually are quite active that you really are studying.
Sure.
And you're not necessarily sharing any of that with anybody outside the society.
Got it.
So if you guys want to bring any special things, that's fine. We'll say that this is it's still fairly early in the morning, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning that you've called your meeting. And no, actually, I said it was the evening, so you can leave tomorrow morning early, if that's what your choice is.
So, gentlemen, can I count on your help?
Yes, of course. It sounds like a proper mystery, doesn't it? I mean, it's almost nothing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hopefully, this will not be anything that we haven't seen before or anything more serious than we're prepared to handle. I'll be drinking a lot this evening to steady my nerves.
Who wants to drive, and who wants? And what are you going to drive? Probably all have cars.
Well, I would suggest it's probably best to all of us bundle into one car together. Because it's quite a slow. Is it in the Lowlands?
It's in Northern Ireland, Northern Scotland. So isn't that the Highlands?
Well, it depends. There's Northern Scotland, and then there's the Highlands, and then there's the North Highlands. In increasing northerness.
You were going to do this.
I think maybe what we're asking are the clear roads to get there. Is it rugged terrain that we might have difficulty driving to?
When you get towards the end of your trip, there probably will be some dirt roads or gravel roads.
Once you get past Inverness, it's called single track roads.
Yeah.
Well, I would be ready to drive, just with my sense of urgency to get there as quickly as possible, to make haste, but also to be careful as well.
Well, I think if we all share one car, then we can also share the driving. It's a fairly long trip,
Mm-hmm.
so we can change drivers and keep ourselves fresh.
All right. Well, let's say that the next day you leave early, and it's quite a grueling drive, but by 4 p.m. you are pulling into a very small little town called Dunval. You passed through a larger town about 10 miles back named Hallhane. That was a little more civilized. Well, I don't know, civilized. It was much larger. Dunval consists of maybe 24 little houses and an inn that looks quite charming. And from what you understand, Clarence is staying at the inn.
Well, let's hope they have some rooms.
Also, the landscape, I should have said this, the landscape is dominated on one end, on the far end of the town. There is a hill that rises up, and on the top of it is a broken ruin of some sort. Looks like in the picture over here on the side.
Okay. Well, after the long drive, we'll probably be ready to make our way to the inn.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so you park your car out in front of the inn.
And I will depart the car quickly while the others check in. I'll be in a hurry to see if Clarence is in fact in the inn. I'll just quickly go in and find a person at the desk or the innkeeper and inquire if Clarence is in the building.
All right. The innkeeper is a Mr. Sam Connors. And he's like, will you and your friends be staying? I'm not even going to try.
Is he French? Oh.
Okay. I only practiced a couple hours.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Faith and be good. No, that's okay. So he says, your friends and you will be staying here at the inn. Yes, Mr. O'Dougal is upstairs. Mr. Mcdougal, sorry. Boy, I got it written right here in front of me. Mr. Mcdougal.
Thank you, sir. Yes, my companions and I will be needing 4 rooms.
Okay. That's fine. All right. So you guys are...
Before he asks, could I just point out that we have not had our tea? And would there be any chance of any sandwiches?
You want your tea. All right. Says, all right. Yes, tea's being served right now. Okay. But how do you English? Yeah, of course you are. All right.
But of course I am. Jolly well am, yes.
So, Mr. Mcdougal is upstairs in his room. And after you've had your tea, you rather, as you're arriving and you're there, and he's just getting you ready to go upstairs, you suddenly hear somebody cry out. It's not like they're screaming. It's just like somebody's in pain.
A man's yell?
Yes. And Mr. Connors, the innkeeper, says, "That'll be your friend Clarence."
I say.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't sound very empathetic.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I'll wait for the others just for the possibility of danger and head up together.
Yeah.
All right.
Talk a lot.
So you're going to head up?
Yes, of course.
All right. So you head up, and you're standing in front of the door. And through the door, you hear somebody moan. It's not continual, but you just hear them sort of, oh. And,
Well, I'll knock on the door. Clarence.
come in. Who is that? Is that Alex? Alex.
It's Alex, old chap.
Oh, thank God you're here. Now, when you step inside, you see a man. He's sitting up in bed. He's dressed in comfortable sort of night clothes. And his hand is bandaged. He says, "Oh, thank God you made it." Oh, he says, "I don't know how I'm going to survive this."
What, Clarence? What happened? You look terrible.
Why don't you come in and sit down?
So we'll enter the room proper and close the door, and
Oh, good. You've brought some others with you.
and I'll let the others introduce themselves to Clarence.
Oh, it's good to see you all. I'm so glad that you came with Clarence. I don't know where to begin. First of all, I guess I should tell you why I'm here. See, it might surprise you to know that despite the fact that I'm a history professor and I've done a tremendous amount of historical research, I know almost nothing about my own family. When I looked a few years ago into my family's history, it pretty much seemed like it all began in the United States in 1783. And that's not that unusual. There's a lot of people who came to the United States and severed ties with their past. But anyways, I started looking deeper into my family, and I found out that they ultimately came from this place, Dunval. And I set out at once to come here, and oh my God, do I regret it. And he reaches over and gets a bottle of whiskey off the thing and drinks some of it down. Now, I'd like you all to do psychology rolls.
Oh. No, I failed.
I did not make it.
Did anybody pass? Nope. Okay. You can see that he's shaking. You know.
Does he seem drunk?
No, but medicated. Probably self-medicated. He says, I suppose you're wondering about my bandages. Well, you see, I lost a finger. As I mentioned, I came here in search of my family history, and I found much more than I bargained for. He says, see, on the hill outside of town is a broken down ruin. It was a tower. Apparently that's where my family came from, the Mcdougal family tower. They call it Mcdougal Tower around here. And I decided, see, here's the thing. what I couldn't find out from my family was where our wealth came from. I knew that it came from gold, but the man who came to the United States, Ian Mcdougal, was fabulously wealthy already with gold. So I thought maybe this is where it came from. And I decided to go explore the ruins. And I didn't want people to really know what I was up to, so I went at night. And people warned me not to go anywhere near that ruin at night. They have a superstition about it. And of course, that's what I thought that it was. I thought, just dismiss what they're saying. It's just an old Scottish superstition. I just sort of dismissed their words out of hand, which is kind of ironic now that I don't have a full hand. Anyway.
You can tell people you were in the war now.
Oh, it gets worse. I went there and I looked at the ruins, and I thought, as I was exploring, that I heard something. I thought that it was probably rats. It wasn't rats. He says, oh my God, it turned out to be something so much worse. And he reaches over and grabs his whiskey and takes another swig.
Slow down, man.
I'm telling you that something black and furry and all hunched over came out of that ruin. It was big. And it came at me, and before I knew what had happened, it grabbed my hand and it bit one of my fingers off. And it knocked me down in the process, and then it ran back into the ruins. And I was so shocked, and I was bleeding everywhere. And I pulled out my handkerchief and I tried to staunch the blood, and I made my way back here. And my assistant, I don't think you've met him yet. He went to get me some soup. He drove me to a town down the road, Hallhane, and the doctor there fixed me up. I don't know what happened, but whatever that thing is, it has my finger, and there's something even worse, something that I can't deal with even now.
Even worse than losing a finger?
Yeah. I told the doctor, I told him that I could still feel the finger. And he told me about, what's it called? Phantom limb syndrome. He said that people have their arms or legs cut off and they can still feel them itching. And that he'd never heard of this happening with a finger, but he said it's probably the same principle. But the thing is that it's not itching. I swear to God, something is gnawing on my finger and I can feel it. And at this point, you can see there's this madness in his eyes, just a little bit of craziness. And he's like, if I don't get that finger back, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. And you notice that he keeps looking at his hand and he keeps jerking it. And he's just like, my hand.
Clarence, I don't think the rat's going to be willing to give up the finger, chap.
You got to get that finger back. There's something in there. It's not a rat. I swear to God, it's not a rat. It's cut my finger and it's chewing on my finger.
What else do they have around here? Wolves, bears?
No, not out here. They have sheep.
Pine martins?
I don't know.
Badgers?
Well, I'm going to sit on the kind of edge of the bed and just kind of put my hand on his shoulder and try and comfort him. He's clearly seems like he's still in shock. Losing a limb of any size will do that. Phantom limb it's very common with soldiers returning from the war. It sounds like that's what he has. But just trying to get him to calm down a little bit. Should I attempt a another psychology roll to see if I can calm him down somewhat?
Do you have psychoanalysis?
No.
Psychology will only tell you that he's obviously crazed. About that time, the door opens and a young man, he looks like he's probably in his mid-20s. He comes in. He's a rather tall, handsome-looking guy, very serious-looking. He steps into the room with a bowl of soup. And Clarence sees him and he says, oh, thank God, David, you're here. He says, just set that over here. David, these are my friends from London. David, George, Francis, Albert, Alexander, Alex.
How do you do?
He's like, hello. He's been telling you his tale.
Indeed. David, were you with Clarence when he was attacked by the rat?
No, but he did come to me right afterwards with his finger missing, and I drove him to Hullhane, and we spoke. The doctor helped patch him up.
Thank you for taking such good care of him.
It's part of my job, but we're friends. I should mention that Clarence is probably in his 40s.
Mr. McDougal, I do apologise if this rather stirs things up for you by asking this, but may I ask, I don't know how to phrase this. Was it a clean bite? Did it take your finger off in one bite?
No. I don't know. I really didn't look at it that much. And I didn't really see the thing that well. It was dark. It was nighttime when this happened.
Did it give you any warning? Like, did you hear any growling or anything?
No,
like that?
I heard noises and I just thought they were rats. And I was coming around a couple of blocks of stone that had once been part of the tower, and it sort of ambushed me. It just leapt out at me, grabbed my arm, knocked me down, and just bit off my finger.
How big was this creature?
I couldn't see it that well. Bigger than a dog, smaller than a bear.
Why ever would you be digging around those ruins at night?
Well, I wanted to see if I could find the gold, see where it was coming from. I didn't want people to know that. I didn't know whether they even knew that there had been gold there at one point.
So you're a treasure hunter now.
Well, it's my treasure. It's my family. I am the heir to the Mcdougal. I wanted to know about my family history. I didn't expect any of this.
In your research, did you find anything unusual or especially relevant about the ruins?
I didn't get very far in my research. My research basically brought me here, and the first night I was here, I decided to go up and take a look at that ruin, and now you see where I am.
Yes. How long were you in Dunval before you went to the ruins?
Just a day.
Yeah. When did this attack take place?
It took place the night that the day after I arrived, but
I mean, like
the night that happened, the night after I arrived.
I mean, like, did this happen like 3 days ago or a week ago or?
At this point, it's probably about 5 days ago.
5 days ago.
Do you mind if we...
I'm sorry.
He suddenly starts and yells and grabs his bandaged hand. I can feel it gnawing on my finger.
Does anyone have any medical training? We can take a look at the wound, see how it's healing. Let's have a look at that hand, Clarence.
All right. You can see that David, the word assistant works really good for David because he's like very gently takes Clarence's hand and begins to unwrap the bandages. And when he does, it's pretty much like that.
Is it clean stitched?
Oh yes, it has been. It has been cleaned and stitched. Yes, of course. There's still a little blood from, but our doctor did a really good job.
Do we get the sense maybe since I know Clarence fairly well, maybe that David is more than a personal assistant?
It's possible. If it's something more than it's discreet, but you can definitely see in David's eyes a caring. He cares about Clarence.
Got it.
Have either of you told anyone else about this besides the doctor?
Oh, well, he says that the innkeeper knows. I came in with a bloody finger.
I think the whole hotel knows at this point.
And the doctor knows. Yeah, small town, probably everybody knows.
And to your knowledge, has anyone been out there to investigate yet? Or
no, the locals won't go anywhere near it.
You mentioned the superstitions. Is there any specific superstition that would be relevant here?
I like I said, I didn't get much research done. When I got here, I settled in and I told them that I'd like to go up there and take a look, and that was in the evening. And they said, "Don't go up there in the evening.
Stay to the path.
It's haunted." They said, "Don't go there." And I'm like, "Yeah." Now I wish I had listened.
Could be any kind of animals out there. It doesn't sound like Clarence was here long enough to really do any kind of research or really talk to anyone, except get a couple warnings about going to the ruins.
Clarence starts to once again grab his hand and moan, and David sort of interrupts and he says, "We were planning on, asking some of the locals what they knew about the house, maybe check the church records, find out more about what happened to the family that was here and why the place is in ruins. If from what Clarence says, it doesn't look like it just fell down."
Well, these types of things are our specialty. Investigating these types of situations.
That's why he asked that Blue Rose members come up. And at this point, David starts feeding Clarence.
Does he have anything for pain?
Whiskey. Perhaps someone should send a telegram to the nearest doctor and see if he can send some morphine.
Well, that would be Dr. McTavish in Hullhane. About 10 miles back down the road.
Clarence, have you notified your family about what happened?
He's like, not really, because the post would get there in months.
Indeed.
Because he's from the United States.
Right. And he just arrived a few days ago.
Right.
Well, Clarence,
it's also probably his right hand that's damaged, so he can't write. Of course, David can write for him.
Clarence, is there anything we can do to make you more comfortable for now, till we can get you back to the States?
He's like, yes, find my finger. And David offers. David says to you, he says, he says, if a man had his finger taken by a rat or something, he certainly wouldn't rest well knowing that some horrid creature had a piece of himself. So, if we can just find something in.
Well, do you mind if I step into the hall with my companions?
Sure. Find my finger.
We'll do everything we can, Clarence. So we'll kind of convene in the hall. It might be hard to have a candid conversation with Clarence in such an escalated state, I would think.
All right.
Clearly still in some state of shock.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. You're alone in the hallway.
Well, gentlemen, looks like we have a finger hunt.
He does seem rather fixated on it, doesn't he?
Yes. Doesn't sound like much more in this case than a wild animal attack of some sort.
But with animals that don't fit the description of what attacked them in the area, then doesn't help a whole lot.
Well, Clarence seemed to be describing a rat, even though in his mind, maybe because of the ferocity of the bite and the dark, maybe turned it in his mind into something far larger than it actually was.
It'd be hard to take a whole finger in a single bite for any rat, even New York ones.
I've seen some pretty big rats in London.
I'm struggling to think of any animals in Scotland that could do that. Wildcats, badgers, none of them that size.
Possibly. I know they're nocturnal.
Is it? I wonder if it might be some sort of escaped animal. From a zoo or a private menagerie or something?
Well, I wonder if we should begin research and see if there's been any other attacks, either at the ruins or in the area.
Yeah.
Maybe someone we could talk to who may have seen something similar, or any news reports about unusual animals in the area.
Perhaps any lore that they might have on the area could help as well.
Yes.
Maybe a rabid dog.
Quite possibly. Well, should we go and start to visit the town, explore a little bit, maybe stop by the pub and see if we can get any stories, maybe before we head to the ruins ourselves?
Yes, what sort of day is it now? We arrived at 4.
Probably about 5 by now.
It's about 5.
I would offer to stay with Clarence myself, but it looks like David has things quite in hand. It doesn't seem like there's much we can do for him here in the inn. Hopefully the poor guy doesn't keep us up all night. Maybe we should see if there's another inn.
Well, we're not going to get a drink until about 6, I think. 6 or 7.
This town is so small, there is no other inn. There's a few houses and an inn. That's it.
Perhaps now might be a good opportunity to go over to the manse and see if we can arrange some sort of access to the church records.
Yes. Is there? You had mentioned. What was the name of the neighboring town where the doctor was? Was it Halhane?
Halhane.
Halhane. Is that a much bigger town? Would that be more likely to have a library or the kind of places where we do research?
It's possible they might have a small lending library. There's probably not much. They probably have a local newspaper. But this this town doesn't have a newspaper. They would probably read the Hallhane News.
Okay. So it literally is really just the inn and a few houses, no other real buildings of note? Okay.
Right. And the ruins.
Okay. No kind of pubs or dining halls?
Oh, you know what? There might be. Well, the lower part of the inn is kind of a pub.
Okay.
You know, people come here to drink and sit around the fire and chit chat.
And the closest church would be in Hawaiian?
No, there actually is a church. I forgot. There is a church on the other side of town. You probably drove past it. It's Saint Drosten's. Presbyterian, I believe.
Okay. Well, let's just stop it on Clarence and tell him we're going to go out about and see what we can learn, and that we'll check in on him later.
All right. And he's like, David is like, yes, gentlemen, I have this taken care of. Do be careful.
He has us well underhand.
Yeah, well, that comes later, but anything to kill the pain.
Yeah.
God, we're filthy. All right. So you're going to leave town. I mean, you're going to leave the hotel. Literally, it's you have private houses. There's probably a well. I'm not sure if that's the case, but there let's say there's a well. There's the church, and there's the ruins on the hill. And it's about 5 o'clock, so people are still out and about.
We see the ruin from where we are.
Yes, they kind of dominate the whole. It's literally a hill. It's flat where you are, and it's a hill at one end, and there's the ruins on top. So they're big and dark. And
not that far, then we could probably just walk there.
That's true. You could probably walk anywhere in here in the town.
So we may have an hour or two until dark.
Mick?
July, did you say?
August.
August. About 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, so you're fine.
Is it mid-season?
Yep.
Oh boy.
So we've got some time to check out the tower before dark. By the time we're done there, we could make ourselves back well before evening, and then check out the pub downstairs at the inn, have dinner.
I mean, it's worth a shot if we still have daylight to search by.
Yeah, at least give it a once over.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
We won't enter any catacombs should we find them. But we'll give it a once over.
So you walk down the road, down to the end of town, and the hill the ground begins to slope up. There's a lot of green grass and wildflowers and weeds. But as you start to get closer and closer to the ruins themselves, there's not much growing on the hill, despite my picture when I show it to you. There's not much left of the tower. A few pieces of partial pieces of wall that are sort of still standing, but most of it is just blocks that have been strewn over the top of this small hill. And I'll give you a look at it.
You know approximately how long it took to walk from the inn to the tower?
Just 5-10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. 5 minutes.
Top of the hill.
And it's a fairly large ruin.
So we would be coming into it from the where the road ends.
From the little road, yeah.
Yeah.
The road going by it is still in, fairly decent condition, but the road leading up to the tower is damaged. I mean, it's never been repaired or fixed.
Well, it already strikes me as a little odd that there's a ruined tower on the outskirts of this village, and no one from the village has used any of the materials to build things from. That in
Correct.
itself is quite strange.
More on the lack of plant life and stuff as we were getting closer to this tower. It's also quite off-putting.
Hey Levi, I can barely hear you. Can you move your microphone closer to your mouth, or?
I was just saying the lack of plant life as we're getting closer to this tower is off-putting as well.
Yeah, that's actually quite striking. It's like nothing wants to grow around where the tower once was.
Do we see any kind of animals around?
Nothing.
Nothing.
But you can do a spot hidden.
Everyone?
Oh yeah, you're all looking at it.
8.
Ooh.
1.
Ooh, that's a great roll.
Not for me.
Well, I think that Levi won on that one. So, Francis, what you notice, you begin to sort of walk back and forth, and you begin to notice that there's a definite sort of pattern to this whole thing. It looks to you like the tower didn't fall down. The tower was blown up. There are definite scorch marks on the ground that are still apparent even after what must be over 100 years. And nothing is growing inside the perimeter of where the tower was.
Follow my thought process, if you will, gentlemen. I don't believe this was actually that this just fell into disrepair. I believe it was actually collapsed and blown apart.
How much dynamite could that have taken?
Yeah. How big are the stones roughly?
I would say they're probably, fairly big.
Okay.
Maybe 2 feet by 2 feet by 3 feet.
I was just because the scale on that picture, I was just like,
Yeah, it's just a picture. It's on my scale.
okay. I just wanted to double check.
They're also not all perfect blocks. They're bits and pieces and broken pieces of rubble.
Gotcha.
It's rubble, yeah. Is there by the picture it showed like there was a big pile of rubble in the center with empty ground around it, and then almost like a radial type of blast if there was some type of explosion around it. Can we kind of climb up to over one of the piles of rubble safely to maybe get to the middle part?
You probably can. It looks like it might be quite dangerous. There's loose rocks and rubble. Nothing has really grown to hold it all together. You can you can explore if you want. Go ahead. Let's say do a climb roll if you want to try to climb in around it and into it.
I'd like to.
Okay, climb roll.
I succeed. I actually made a hard check on that.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, you climb up onto the side rubble, and you can see that there's definitely a blast pattern. So part of it would have blown outward, and part of it would have just collapsed in the center. Probably the roof and the inner structures, and it just sort of formed a pile.
Well, can I ask? So roughly, how big is this structure?
I would say the tower was at least 60 feet across. You can still see foundation stones.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't yet seen a thing where there's an actual picture of it before in its original state, right? Because it sounds that would be a pretty big. It looks like it would have been a pretty big tower. It was just a single spire, or
Probably mostly a tower with some structures around it, possibly wooden structures. You don't know, you don't have any idea how old it is or anything like that. Looks old.
yeah. And we're not seeing anything moving, anything that's out of the ordinary other than a destroyed building, piles of rubble.
Nothing.
Yeah.
But I want to stress that it would take you a couple of hours to thoroughly explore this, and even then, you might miss stuff. I mean, it looks at, from everything that you've looked at, you don't see anything but pieces of tower. There's no pieces of wood. There's no objects that may have at once been inside the tower. It's probably been picked clean by possibly the town folks over the years.
Okay. Well, what do you think, gentlemen? That's we give it a cursory inspection. Doesn't seem to be any animals or anything out of the ordinary. Should we proceed for tonight, or head back to the inn and come back for a more thorough search tomorrow?
I think that sounds like a good idea to me.
Mm-hmm. We've had a long day, so.
Yes, I'd like to know what the locals have to say about it as well, if anything.
Yeah. We'll need a place where we can maybe do some research. It doesn't seem like Clarence was here long enough to really discover anything that'll be helpful to us.
Mm-hmm.
Surely he must have some notes or something to have brought him to this place in the first place.
Yeah. And I have no idea how we're going to find a finger in this rubble.
Yeah.
It'd be
All right.
literally finding a finger in a pile of rubble.
All right. So are you going to head back to the inn?
Yes.
As you are heading back to the inn, the light is getting low in the horizon. It's not getting nighttime yet, but you can see across the town that there are lights on in the church, and you hear a bell ring, and it just rings a couple of times. Dong, dong, dong. Do any of you? Well, you probably do. Go ahead and do an idea roll if you don't know what that is.
Is it even song, perhaps?
Is that the same as Vespers?
I don't know.
Evening services in the church.
Yes, even song.
Yeah.
Well, the bell definitely reminds me of Albert's suggestion earlier that we check out the church. I did get actually a 0-1 on my idea roll.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably sure it's like Vespers. They're probably having like an evening service. Usually they last maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour at the most.
So yes, going to sit in, and hopefully we can have a chat with the minister afterwards. I do hope he's Church of Scotland and not one of those Presbyterians. They're awfully frightening chaps. Very stern.
Now you're going to have to help me out because I don't know that much about the religion in Scotland. Church of Scotland, we'll say it's Church of Scotland since you said that's what.
That's all right.
All right, so you're going to go to the church?
Yes.
As you approach, of course, it's lit inside, mostly by candles. What's that?
Sorry, can I interrupt real quick? We were looking around the tower. What is the surrounding landscape like? Is it like, are we near woods? Is it all open farm country? Or
It's almost all open farm country. There are, at the most, there are bushes.
Okay.
There might be occasionally a tree, but it's sheep country. So
okay, fields. Okay,
mostly
sorry.
fields and rocky.
Sorry.
And you can see off in the distance there are probably little farms that are technically part of the town, but they're sheep people out there.
Okay, gotcha.
There would have been a good vista from the tower at the top of the hill, being able to see the surrounding area. Okay.
So you get to the church. It's not brightly lit inside, but it's lit enough. There are only maybe 5 people that have come to services, but you can see the minister up at the front, and he looks like he's an older man, maybe in his early 60s, and he is doing whatever the Church of Scotland people do. And this church is the Church of Saint. I said it before. Saint Drustin. And if he gives a sermon, it's probably nothing more than a few Bible readings and singing some psalms. And then go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I imagine when the 4 of us from London walk in, everything just screeches to a halt, and everyone turns to look at us. No.
You probably get a couple of glances when you walk in, but they're in church, so they're going to be very serious about church.
Well, I'll pick up a hymn book and join in and let the locals wit what raw cacophony we Londoners can make.
Now, something that strikes you as odd, maybe not odd, but interesting, is for this little town of, like I say, 24 houses, this is a nice church. There was some money put into this church.
Does the church look, in terms of construction, is it a recent church?
No.
Is it not? It's rather an old church.
Yeah, probably 16th century. Maybe a little later than that.
Is it noticeably more well-maintained than, say, the inn and the surrounding houses?
Well, the houses in the inn are actually pretty well maintained, but they all have an air of oldness to them. They've been here. This town has been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no new construction.
Got it.
The church would lead you to believe that at some point in time, this might have been a rather prosperous area. Obviously, there was a tower, so maybe there was. And obviously, Clarence says that his ancestry, that they had gold. So
it could have been some type of manor situation.
Yeah.
It could have been a much larger village before the clearances.
So we will probably maybe take a seat and attend the service and be respectful of.
And it takes about 25 minutes, and the service is over. And as the people get up and leave, they give you a look. They seem friendly. They smile and give you a nod as they go past. And of course, the minister, he immediately comes over to you because you're strangers, and he says, "Welcome to our church, gentlemen. Are you travelers?"
Yes, we're up from London for a little while.
He says, "My name is Alan Gibson. I'm the minister here."
Oh, how do you do?
Is he Scottish?
Oh yeah. Aye laddie. I'm Scottish.
Scottish.
Can I just apologise to all my friends and neighbours? I've got nothing to do with this, and I'm not going to do the accent.
Everything we've learned from you, Mick. So
No, everything we've learned from Star Trek. Aye, Captain.
Aye, Captain.
That's a lovely church you've got here.
Oh yes, it's the original church that was built here. It's done quite well.
Yes.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
Well, we were just we just took a walk up the hill and saw your ruin up there.
McDougal Castle, McDougal Tower. Yes.
Yes. It seems to have been blown up. Did that happen during the 45 or something?
No, that happened. Let me see. I believe that was around. That was around 1782, I believe, that it exploded. It's all written in the church records. I would have to check them to get the exact time.
Well, do you know? We're rather interested in local history and such things.
Well,
Um,
the McDougals were the whole reason why the town is here in the first place. Quite a successful family, at least for a while.
Did you know that there's a McDougal in town now? If you've met my friend Clarence.
I hadn't heard that. No.
Indeed, yeah, we're from America, and he's here researching his family history.
Well, we certainly have the church records if you'd like to peruse through them.
Certainly, yeah.
Are there any McDougals in your parish?
I'm sorry?
Are there any other McDougals in your parish?
Oh, no. There haven't been any McDougals living in this town for, a long time. Some would say that the McDougal clan was cursed here, but I think they just moved on.
Cursed how?
Cursed with madness, to be honest.
Madness, you say?
It runs in families.
Well, of course. I mean, in the olden days, of course, who knows what might have been classified as madness?
It's true.
I read a book when I was last at my club. I read a book that said that once there was a time when reading too many books was considered madness. It was called bibliomania.
That's crazy.
Bizarre, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell me,
I have very little to do this evening. Would you like to take a look at the church? I don't know what you'd call it. The record, the historical record.
if you're sure it wouldn't be.
No. This is how often do we have visitors from out of town that we can talk about our lovely little village.
Well, I'd welcome the opportunity. Tell me, I mean, have you been here a long time yourself?
Oh, I was transferred here about 15 years ago.
15 years ago. I see. Do you know, I know this is... I don't want to sound flippant, but I've always been rather interested in local folklore.
Yes, there's a lot of families that are in this town that have been here for hundreds of years. You can ask around. They probably have plenty of stories to tell you.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm a writer. I'm always looking for good stories.
Well, there's some strange ones here, yes.
Even better, my favorite kind.
Well, let's go take a look in our archives.
Yes, do lead on, please.
So, I would like. Who's going to? You can't all stand over a book and look through it. But so, who's going to do the looking and?
Well, I'm a fairly practiced researcher as a writer.
Okay.
I would like to see so I can relay the information back to Clarence.
Well, he hands you a couple of rather old-looking logs, tomes, not old logs. These are paper, not wood. So we write everything on our logs. And he says, enjoy yourself, please. Can I make you guys some tea? You gentlemen some tea.
Well, rather.
So he goes off to make some tea. Now, I would like I would like Kurt. I'd like Alexander to do a luck roll.
I made it.
Okay. I'm going to say that for the next 2 hours, you go over these logs. So it's going to be around 8 o'clock when you guys are finished. So you'll be ready to go to bed. But in that time, this is the information that you find, and I'll just have you read it.
McDougal found some interesting facts here, gentlemen. Mcdougal Tower was constructed in 1487, and the village of Dunval sprung up around it. The family experienced success in their business ventures, and they grew in prosperity and wealth. They were good members of the church and contributed in measure accordingly. By the mid-1700s, the family's success began to decline. Most of their wealth was gone by 1775. Then, in 1779, during the construction of a well, they literally struck gold. Almost overnight, the family was once again exceedingly wealthy. In December of 1781, one of the family members asked a minister to perform an exorcism on the tower to drive out an evil spirit that plagued them. It is not recorded if the exorcism was actually performed. In the weeks that followed, all 6 resident members of the family began showing signs of madness. And we've got death records between January 7th and January 25th of 1782 of Samuel, Mary, Grace, Andrew, George, and Robert McDougal. Ian McDougal, the brother of Andrew, returned from abroad. He was deeply disturbed by the death of his family. After the funeral, he announced his immediate intention to move the newly independent colonies across the sea to make a fresh start. March 9th, 1782, the McDougal Tower exploded sometime around 11 p.m. All burnable parts were burned. Ian made a very large donation to St. Drostan's Church before departing for the United States of America shortly afterward. October 1782, it was discovered that the graves of the McDougal family were desecrated, possibly by grave robbers. Chilling. I think I might have the structure for my next book. So Ian could be Clarence's great-great-great-grandfather, maybe? And I'll write down kind of the notes, the most important facts in my notebook just to share back to Clarence. If he was here looking for family history, this is definitely going to give them some useful information.
Having gone through all of the church records, that's pretty much all that you're going to get out of the church at this point, except some more tea and a hearty, I don't know, Scottish something.
Probably some shortbread as well.
Some very bland crackers.
And some scotch.
I like that.
Now, does the minister, did he go away? Did he kind of leave us to it? Is he still around?
He popped in every once in a while, made a few comments and so forth, but he didn't add anything to this information.
If he's still there, can we? I'd like to ask a little bit more about the exorcism. If he knows any more lore about that particular part of the story.
Sure, go ahead. You can ask him.
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Well, very interested in the part of the story around this idea of the exorcism. The members of the McDougal family seemingly appearing mad.
Well, all I can tell you is that there's no record of an exorcism actually being done. So I don't really know. It may have just been not recorded. But there is, and we don't actually, you can see here, we don't even have a record of which McDougal requested it. So it may have been something that happened, in the middle of the night that the minister just went and did it and came back and just never bothered to record it down.
Are exorcisms common in this part of the country?
Well, back in the 1700s, probably far more common. Technically, any time that we ask God for a blessing on something, we're doing an exorcism.
Thank you for letting us see the records. Is there anything else that you could tell us about any other strange occurrences? My friend Clarence McDougal, who is here researching his family's history, will be very interested to have this information. He was actually up at the ruins a few days ago and was attacked and lost his finger.
He lost his finger, you say?
He lost his finger to a animal that looked like a giant rat, but he said much larger.
That's very unfortunate. You might talk to some of the locals.
Are there any kind of local legends about, large animals or monsters inhabiting the ruins?
As I say, I've been here for 15 years, but I don't exactly have those kind of conversations with the locals. So they come here for spiritual advice, and you'd want to get somebody who's actually lived here their whole lives, and from families that have lived here their whole lives.
Well, thank you. This has been most helpful, and I'll shake his hand.
All right. So it's about 8 o'clock.
I want to mention this to the rest of the group because I don't really know who to ask, but to me, I'm curious, is it unusual to anyone else that there's a tower in the middle of this farm field on the top of a hill? Is that unusual architecture for this area?
Well, I mean, there are estates. Most old buildings like that would have sort of grown up and become the big houses of estates. So I suppose it's reasonable to assume that there would be some that were never developed.
Would there be any other types of ruins of castles or fortifications in this part of the country, or would this really be outstanding architecture?
I think that through Scotland, there's quite a few keeps and castles and towers.
Right.
If I'll just give this to you, if the family was prosperous back in the 16th century or the 15th century, why not build a tower? That's what everybody else was doing that had money.
That's what I would do today if I
I just thought it was odd if they're already on the top of the hill, they can already see all around them. So, what good is a tower? But
it's possible that it's more prestige than anything else.
Okay.
And it's very. We don't really know what there was no indication as to where their wealth was originally coming from, but this part of the country, probably sheep.
So if they were falling into relative poverty at the time they struck gold, and at the same time they started displaying signs of badness, it really does make for an interesting question of where the gold came from, and as far as Clarence is concerned, where is it now? Is there any left? And if so, where is it?
Well, there's still a good chunk of money in Clarence's hands. He is wealthy back in the United States. But that all came ultimately, traces it back to the first one that came over, which, according to this, would be Ian Mcdougal, who came to the United States. He mentioned that as far as he knew, his family's history began in 1783 in America. So
yeah,
that would have been when Ian.
So he's probably maybe 3 or 4 generations removed from Ian.
It's hard to say. 1783, probably more than that, because people didn't live that long. They died of diseases and everything else. But yes, the family still has wealth in the United States.
Excellent. So,
what would you like to do next?
Any other thoughts, fellas, before we make our way back to the inn?
No,
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll head to the inn and probably have drinks, dinner.
Okay. You have shepherd's pie and haggis. I don't know what to.
Haggis sandwiches.
Yeah, haggis sandwiches. They're called sand haggis witches.
Okay. How many people are also dining, or I guess just to get a sense of scale, other than Clarence and David, in our rooms, are there many other guests in the inn?
No, you're pretty much it. There's maybe 2 other people, and they're travelers. They're going to be leaving in the morning for somewhere.
Okay, and then working the restaurant or the pub. Is there a bartender or a waitress, or is it the same person we checked in with?
It's the innkeeper. Yeah.
The innkeeper. Okay.
Sam,
Could I attempt a charm roll on him
Sure.
to try and inquire about any local lore?
Sure.
I will be right back, guys.
94. That's horrible.
Okay. He says nothing.
Are there any old fellas in the bar part of the
Well,
hotel?
we'll say there's one old guy. He's sitting there nursing a drink. He looks like he's pretty. Being a farmer, he's probably worn out.
Well, I'll just I'll light a gasper and buy a couple of large drams and wander over.
Okay. And
I'm turning into Rupert at this point.
He seems friendly enough.
Good
Gives
evening to you.
you a look like, wow, I haven't seen a stranger in years. He's like, he introduces himself as, Mac something.
Kenneth Mackay.
There you go.
50% of people in the world Kenneth Mackay. It's an easy.
He says, "Ah, you young whippersnapper, what you doing out here?" Oh, great.
Oh, you know, we're getting away from London for a little while. You know
Well, you
how it
picked a
is.
fine place to do it.
Oh, it's a lovely spot, isn't it? Yeah. Would you join me for a drink? It's a wee dram for you.
Well, of course, if you twist my arm, I'll do it. Sometimes I'm Irish.
Yes.
Sure.
From the northeast
So he
of
asks
London,
the usual
with
questions:
accent.
where you're from, what you've been doing, what you're up to.
Well, you know, we're just seeing the sights, taking in a bit of local colour. We were up just earlier on, up looking at your ruin there up on the hill this afternoon.
Mcdougal Tower.
Yes, indeed. I tell you, I mean, there must be a great big thing like that leering over the village. There must be all sorts of tales about that.
Oh yeah, he says. Of course, 'twas Andrew McDougal that blew the thing up. That was 1783. No, sorry, I made the mistake. That was Ian that did that. Ian McDougal that blew the thing up. He says, "'Twas a strange thing." He says, "I think the whole family was cursed with madness. I think they all went mad."
I had heard that. You say he blew it up. Did he do it on purpose or by accident? Or?
Well, who can say? I think the whole family is a little bonkers. He says it all started when old Andrew McDougal dug that well and found the gold. The family was never right after that.
Well, no, I suppose the well was up there on the hill, was it?
It should be in the tower somewhere. It's probably buried under all the rubble.
I'd imagine so.
Nobody will go up there. The place is haunted.
Haunted, you say?
The curse of the nine-finger McDougals, they call it.
The nine-finger McDougals?
Oh, yeah. He says apparently they all cut their fingers off. Every last one of them.
There's a queer thing. Why on earth would they do something like that?
Because they were mad.
Well, clearly. So it's their ghosts, is it, that haunt the place?
Probably, or that, some people say that maybe old Andrew McDougal made a deal with the devil, and the devil still lives there with his little demons. Who can say?
Gold for fingers.
Who knows? He says, but I'll tell you this: all the madness ended when the tower blew up.
Is that so?
And as far as I know, that was the end of the McDougals as well.
And no one's ever been up there and used the rubble for anything.
No, it's cursed. Nobody will go near it.
This is the innkeeper, right?
This is the old man that was drinking.
Okay. What would you say if we told you there was a McDougal in the inn now?
You mean the guy upstairs who keeps moaning? I heard he lost a finger. Puts him right in line with the other McDougals.
It sure does.
Maybe he cut it off himself.
It's a strange coincidence, isn't it? Don't you think? Would you like another drink, by the way?
Absolutely. I just got started.
I'll go and get a couple more drams. Spot of water and then make them last a bit longer.
He says, yeah, none of the locals will go near that place, especially at night, and you'd be wise not to do so either.
What happens there at night, then?
The curse. Who knows? Nobody will go there, so we don't know what happens, but madness, I tell you.
Well, that makes sense, I suppose. Were they... Sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
Were they the... Were they always here, the McDougals?
Why? I think the town came up after the McDougals got here.
Oh, I see.
You know that guy upstairs? It's probably just a rat. Took his finger. Great, now he's from Boston. I'm not even going to try anymore.
He seems awfully upset about it.
Well, I'd be upset if I lost my finger too.
I've known Clarence all my life. He's not mad. He would not cut off his own finger.
If you say so.
Has anyone who is not a McDougal ever been attacked or even lost a finger up there, wandering around the ruins?
Who can say? I've never heard of anything like that, but who knows? Most people won't go up there. I've never seen anybody going up there.
We read in the church records that the graves of the McDougals were desecrated.
Father Alan Gibson's place, the church. Yeah, I don't go to church much anymore. He says, I got to be going back there sometime.
So you croft around here, do you? You keep sheep?
I'm sorry, you broke up. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. Hang on. You cut out a bit there. What did you say?
Yeah, you broke up. I couldn't hear what you said.
Sorry. Okay. I said, so you croft locally, do you? You keep sheep?
Yes.
And that's
my son does. My son does most of the work now. I'm a little old for that.
And that's going all right, is it? There's no problems with the sheep around here?
No problems.
No animals roaming around? Dogs or the like?
Oh, says I don't think that we've seen a wolf in years and years.
Oh no, I once went. I can't remember where it is.
I see foxes every once in a while. Little foxes. Lots of foxes. Badgers. Oh, no badgers around here.
The occasional wild haggis.
Yeah, they roll up and they.
Well, I think I will. If we're done eating and we've got drinks, and I'll probably go up to check on Clarence.
Before you do that, actually, David comes downstairs to get a quick bite to eat. He tells you that Clarence has actually managed to get to sleep, but he tends not to sleep for very long before he wakes up saying that his finger is bothering him.
Join me for a drink, David?
Sure.
Cool. So we'll order a couple drinks, and I'll ask, David, what state of mind was Clarence in, or how long? I guess I'll start with how long have you been together? How long have you been with Clarence's assistant?
Just about 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. And how did you come into his employ?
I was actually a student of his at university, Miskatonic.
Clarence and I go back a long time, and it really pains me to see him in this state.
Yeah, he shouldn't. I honest to God don't know what to make of it. I think that we need to get him to a psychologist. He's claiming that he can feel his finger, and I appreciate that he got traumatized and something happened to his finger, but come on.
I think we should get him back to London as soon as possible. Get him with a good doctor, and then get him on his way home. I was able to find out some about his family history, and we'll have some answers for him.
Oh, good. Well, the only problem with that is that he seems adamant that we have to find his finger, and this obsession is becoming worse and worse.
He's always been stubborn, but he does seem a touch mad. I've never seen him so discombobulated. So something I can't quite put my finger on.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
David,
jeez.
David, how was his mental state before the accident?
Perfectly normal. Like I said, I've known him for 5 years. He's a very clear thinker. He's very thorough in his investigation, his historical investigation. He's written a couple of books. I've never seen him act anything like this.
Did he tell any of the other locals that you guys heard? You weren't with him, right? You just came and got him?
He came back to the inn here with a bloody finger. Well, he had a bandage. He had a handkerchief wrapped around it.
Do you know if he told any of the other locals that he was going up to visit the tower?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I heard him talking about visiting the tower, and I remember somebody saying that he shouldn't go up there at night, but he didn't believe any of this stuff. I still don't believe any of this stuff. I think that he's, I don't know.
Did he do his research at the church?
No, we never got to the church. We never got to the church. Now, we were intending on going there in a day or so.
It seems unlike him to skip all the avenues of research and go straight to digging through rubble.
I think he wanted some gold. Wanted to see if he could find the source of gold.
Well, Clarence is already rich.
I know, but you know how that is.
Gold fever.
The rich want more.
Yeah. As I say, more gold, more problems.
He was, when we got here, extremely enthusiastic. He was like a little kid on his birthday. I think that he's been trying to find out his genealogy for years, and it's always been traced back to 1783 in the United States, and he was never able to get beyond that. I'm not exactly sure where the breakthrough came, but he did find the immigration records for this Ian Mcdougal.
Ian was like his great grandfather.
Yeah. And then it was very hard for him to figure out where Ian came from. But it took a while, and he finally discovered this place, much to his great misfortune. Thank you for the drink. I think I'll go back up and check on Clarence, make sure everything is okay.
Thank you. We'll check in on him tomorrow. Hopefully he'll sleep through the night.
You know, if you can come up with something to convince him that you've succeeded, I don't know. I honestly think that it's a psychological problem at this point.
Thank you, David.
All right. And he goes.
Where would be the closest place, if thinking about the time period, if we had to have him maybe committed at this point, I'm concerned for his safety, or that he'll continue to degenerate and maybe run back out into the ruins and, have another injury or fall or be attacked again. If he does anything erratic, we may have to have him committed.
The nearest place I believe that you could possibly have that kind of service would be, Mick will have to back me up on this, Inverness. Did you hear that, Mick?
I just came in at the end of that.
Oh, sorry. He was asking if there would be any place where there would be professional services where Clarence could be institutionalized, and I said probably from where you are right now you'd have to go all the way to Inverness.
Yes, Inverness would probably be the nearest.
That's the nearest semi-large city.
No, it's big. In Highland terms, it's big.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that, gentlemen, but we've got to make sure Clarence doesn't hurt himself again and get himself into some more trouble.
All right. So are you going to do anything more before you go to bed?
I think I'm ready to call it.
They have phones here?
No.
I just had a small thought that I wonder if it's worth contacting the doctor in Hainesville, Howling, to see if the wound actually looked like it was a bite or if it was like cut off with a knife. I wonder if that's worth questioning.
We could drive to Hallhane tomorrow. I believe he said it's about 10 miles.
10 miles.
Well,
Short journey. We talk to the doctor, or if
maybe if it comes up to it. I can't see making a special trip just for that though. But it was just a thought when he mentioned that they were cutting their own fingers off. It just made me wonder if the same thing was happening to.
Well, I think for tomorrow we have a couple things that we could do. We could do a more thorough search of the ruins with an early start. When Clarence awakens, if he has not been to the church, there's the information we could share with him that we learned from the church. That would answer a lot of his questions about his family history prior to 1782.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. So you're going to go to bed? Mm-hmm. All right. You all managed to find your beds comfortably. You maybe hear a couple times in the night Clarence moaning, but for the most part, you have a pretty solid night. Maybe you have some slightly weird dreams just because it's a weird situation, but nothing out of the ordinary. So the next morning, you rise. You clean yourselves up and you come down for breakfast. And maybe I don't know, have you checked on Clarence yet?
I would say I'd probably maybe listen in at the door on the way down to see if they're up and about.
Okay.
Or if Clarence is talking.
Don't hear anything. So maybe if they can sleep, they should sleep.
Yes.
All right. So you come down. You're having breakfast. We'll say it's about 7:30 in the morning. And in the middle of your breakfast, the innkeeper, Sam Connor, comes through the room, and he says, "I got the morning paper from Halhane," and he just tosses it down on the table if you guys want to read it. However, I would like you all to do a luck roll. And I want to know who gets the lowest roll, the best roll.
I got 23.
You beat me.
I stubbed my toe on the table.
What'd you get, Levi?
100.
Oh, you got 100?
You just exploded.
He just lost a finger.
You pick up the newspaper and you look at the newspaper and you say, "I can't read a thing. Is this like written in Scottish or something like that?" At which point Albert reaches over and picks the paper out of your hand and turns it over like this.
And then the paper cut severs his finger.
That's what you get. So who got the best score? Was it Nick?
I got a 23, yeah.
Okay. As you are flipping through, or maybe somebody else is flipping through the paper, you notice something comes across your vision and you see this headline, which you immediately grab and point out to the others.
I say, look at this. Missing fingers. Police are baffled by a number of bizarre assaults that have taken place in the last few weeks. 4 local women have had one of their fingers removed. Miss Carla Camshron has told police that she was assaulted by a man. While she lay unconscious, he apparently removed her left ring finger, then carefully bandaged it up. When she regained consciousness, she was alone in a back alley of Holhane, not far from where she had met the man. She remembers very little and could not offer the police a description of her assailant. Similarly, Miss Emily Glass, Margot McAndra, and Moira Singler were similarly assaulted and deprived of one of their digits. Most of these assaults took place in and around the Pestle district, an area notorious for its ladies of the evening. Police have added a second patrol of the area. My goodness me, it's not what you expect from a local newspaper in the Highlands, is it? Yeah. This is a hotbed of scandal, this place.
So it's not just here.
No, and that's what, 10 miles up the road, they say?
And not a Mcdougal in the group.
No. We have 4 cases.
I think we have got another reason to go to Hallheim.
Very nearly have a whole hand by now.
Nobody's missing a thumb.
Oh, this is so. Oh, that would be awful.
Maybe we should buy gloves when we get to Hallheim.
Yes. We could pillage a suit of armor or something.
Gauntlets. Well, what do you think? We've got another lead now. We could go to Hallhane, or we could investigate the tower again.
Well, it certainly puts a different complexion on things, doesn't it? If there's some maniac chopping off women's fingers, I think at the very least we should go there and possibly discuss this matter with the police. I mean, if your chum has had his finger bitten off, there might be some maniac hiding out.
Well, at least a maniac is a rational explanation, which is what we were expecting, more than curses and exorcisms. If it wasn't for my concern for Clarence, this would be right up our alley as something we could help solve.
Yes. Well, who's up for a trip to Hullhaven then?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I suggest we finish breakfast and toodle off.
Okay. So you're going to head to Hullhaven. Hullhaven's about 10 miles. It's really only about a 20-minute drive. It's considerably bigger. Not a huge town, but there's multiple streets. Not just a main street. This town, Dunsdon, only has one main street. So let's just say that there's a couple of different parts of the town. Some of them are in better repair than others. Your guess is that the less savory areas of the town are where these ladies of the night were assaulted. And then there's, of course, a police station and the usual stuff. So what would you like to do? Also, the doctor is in this town.
Well, I was thinking we should possibly go and see the police.
Okay.
The police may have some questions about our involvement and our whereabouts.
This isn't going to put a black mark on Clarence's name, is it?
He's the victim of a crime.
As were 4 other women of the night.
I hardly think Clarence is going to be mistaken for a woman of the night, though, is he? I mean,
I like to think of them as friendly women. We could also have the opportunity to report Clarence's attack.
That's true.
Since this will be the nearest authorities and actually have a police report.
It's a good idea. How about if you guys don't mind, if you guys want to do that, I can meet you there, and then I can head to the doctor and find out about that, whether it was bitten or cut.
I'd hate to have Clarence's name tarnished in any way due to the fact that he is a McDougal and has a reputation for madness in the area. To be the first incident to happen along these lines, I would hate to have that draw negative attention towards him or our party.
That's a good point.
Well, he would be the first McDougal to set foot on the soil in hundreds of years. Over 100 years.
And to have all these incidents coincide and happen together seems rather suspicious. I'd hate to have them place us as responsible.
If there were no other attacks prior to Clarence's arrival, it could be peculiar timing.
Did the newspaper say that? Did it give a timing?
It didn't. Evening, probably.
I meant as far as his arrival. He arrived about 5-6 days ago. Did all these?
The newspaper. It didn't say in the newspaper when these things had occurred.
Okay. So it's possible. I mean,
maybe.
Good.
As I said, maybe we could find the reporter who wrote the article. If we don't talk to the police about Clarence, so as not to raise suspicion on him, given his family's reputation, maybe we'll have more to learn from the reporter than the actual police.
I agree. and the doctor as well.
And maybe even some of the other women who work in the area may have seen something.
I could investigate that portion.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
So what are your decisions? What are you going to do?
Well, we've got go ahead.
I think I'd like to visit the newspaper offices.
Okay.
So I was suggesting.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say I was suggesting go to the doctors alone, but if you guys think there's more to it, we can certainly all go together.
Well, we've got enough leads. We could split up at this point and kind of pair off. I would go with George then to the doctor, maybe.
I could tag along with Albert.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So let's say that you do this. Let's say you go to the doctor first, or we'll go to the doctor first. All right. The doctor's office is small. Basically, he takes one patient at a time, and there are only maybe one patient in the waiting office. An older, obviously sheep farmer, who looks like he scratched his elbow or something. The sheep sheared him. There is no receptionist. And when the doctor comes out, say, Mr. O'Houlihan, oh geez, there he is, Irish again. Mr. Mcdougal Tower, I'll see you now. Gentlemen, I'm not going to be able to see you for quite a while. Do you have a medical emergency?
No emergency.
No, we're up from London, and we have some questions about the recent attacks of people who lost their fingers, and we're hoping we could ask some questions.
The old man in the room, he's like, I had an appointment. The sheep aren't going to shear themselves.
Oh, pipe down. It's just a scratch. Put a Band-Aid on it.
Well, these things start as a scratch and they turn into a whole full-blown infection. And the doctor's like, you say you have questions. How long is this going to take? 5 minutes?
We would just take a few minutes of your time.
And the old man is like, excuse me, but I had an appointment and these people just walked in off the street.
And for your time as well, sir, maybe we hand him a bill?
It's been a pleasure doing business with you.
We'll get you patched up soon enough, sir.
So what can I do for you, gentlemen? Says the doctor.
So we are friends of Clarence. I believe you treated him recently with the missing finger.
Clarence Mcdougal. Yes, he was in here a few days ago and had his finger taken off by something.
I was just curious if you could tell us if it looked like it was bitten off or if it was cut off.
Well, it wasn't cut with a knife. It was definitely kind of ragged. Probably a combination of something grabbing a hold of it and tearing it off or biting it off. That's possible.
Okay.
Were you also the doctor who treated the 4 women who lost their fingers in the attacks in the newspaper?
I haven't treated those women. I know the story that you're talking about. Women like that don't exactly have money to be treated. As far as I understood from the article, they were already bandaged up when they regained consciousness. I don't think that they would have come here.
So you think that the assailant applied the bandages?
That's what the newspaper article. You've obviously read the same newspaper article as I have.
Okay.
Said that it was bandaged up.
Okay. Have there been any other attacks previously of people losing fingers?
Not that I've seen in the news.
Or even not just fingers, but even like wild animal attacks, anything like that, maybe?
Oh, no. Last time we had a badger attack, it was a few years ago. Old, whatchamacallit, got thrown off a horse a couple of weeks ago. He gives you a couple things, but it's mostly bumps and bruises and scrapes and bad diet. I remember in the day when we used to use leeches to solve every problem.
The good old days.
But yeah, you don't get anything more out of him.
Okay. Well, Doctor,
Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a crazy patient in the other room that needs some attention. He says, wait a second, before I go, I do remember Mr. Mcdougal. He kept claiming that he could feel his finger, which I explained to him was probably phantom limb syndrome. People who are in the war have this. But he claimed that he was feeling it much more thoroughly. Hopefully that'll just fade away.
He was in shock.
He seemed a little crazed, if you ask me. Perhaps you could seek more professional help.
Is there any fear of rabies? Did you get any medical signs of that?
No. I don't know if they had a cure for rabies yet.
No, I'm saying, does he suspect rabies?
Oh no, I don't think so. Whatever bit that off. Well, I mean, if the man starts to show signs of hydrophobia, then I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if does anybody know if they had a cure for rabies yet?
I don't even know if they knew what rabies was.
They knew what hydrophobia was. That's one of the signs of it.
What was that? Fear of water?
Fear of water. Yeah, people who get rabies become terrified of water for some reason.
Really?
It's bizarre. Well, thank you for your time, Doctor. We won't take up any more of it.
All right. Thank you. Finally, my appointment. All right. So, what would you like to do next?
Well, I think Quinn and Albert were going to find the reporter, I believe.
Oh yeah. Now the Halhane Herald is basically a little tiny storefront with a printing press in the back. They probably have, I don't know, a circulation of about 300. So it's a little printing press, and in the front, there's basically three people in the shop. There's a reporter, the reporter. There's like the editor-in-chief, and there's the printing press guy. So when you ring, there's a little bell on the door, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, and the reporter looks up and he says, "Yeah, what can I do for you?"
What ho? Do you have a moment to have a chat?
Sure. You got a story for me?
Well, I think we might have. Interested in a story you've written, though, to be honest, at this point.
Oh?
Well, yes, we're staying down in Dunvale, and we read your story about these rather shocking incidents involving young ladies having their fingers removed.
Young ladies. Whores. You mean whores. They're whores.
Well, it's not a word I'd use myself. I understand. But
well, as a reporter, I try to get to the point.
Yes. Well, these courtesans, as you say, seem to have been relieved of their digits.
Yeah, all I can think is that you head over into that part of town and you say, I would really like myself a 9-fingered hoe. And they'll say, hey, we got 4 of them. What about them?
That is your rather unusual vernacular. It threw me for a moment. Well, I wondered if there was anything perhaps that you'd left out of this report. When did all this happen?
Oh, last couple of weeks.
Last couple of weeks. I see. And what is it? Some sort of escaped madman, or?
Oh, who knows? It seems really odd. I mean, it's not very often you run across a Jack the Ripper who decides just to take a finger and then bandage them up in the process and leave them sitting nice and neat in an alleyway.
But
None the worse for wear.
I don't understand. How would one go about removing a woman's finger without her noticing or screaming the house down?
Well, did you read the article? Somebody knocked her. Not somebody would come along. They would think it was probably a customer, and before they could get a good look at the guy, he knocked him out.
What, physically knocked them out, or did he slip them a Mickey Finn?
Physically, he knocked them out. About 2 hours later, they woke up, and they were missing a finger, and they were all bandaged up.
And none of them have any descriptions of this, you say?
Nope. They know it was a man. None of them say they got a clear picture of him, a clear look at him.
And sir, how did you come across this story?
Actually, one of them came to me and told me what was going on. They didn't want to go directly to the police.
Understandable.
Are the police looking into it now, though?
Well, they're not really that interested, but they are putting. They said they would put an extra police watch walking around. I mean, they're prostitutes. That nobody cares. If you want to talk to them, they're probably over there right now. They're not going to let a missing finger stop their business.
And where is there? It's
Look, you go down this street over here and make a right.
Over there.
Yeah, and
okay.
You really can't miss it. It's not a nice part of town. It's kind of run down, kind of trashy. Of course, you're not going to see much during the day. They're all sleeping during the day.
I see.
Probably some of those apartments over there. If you knock on the door, you can find out where they all live. I doubt they live together.
Yes. I'm not sure. I'm inclined to go randomly knocking on the doors of working women, particularly when they're resting. They might not take that very well, but perhaps this evening. Although one, as you may appreciate, one is rather reticent for fear of being mistaken for one of their clientele.
Nobody cares. The police have never done anything to clean up that part of town. Heck, the police are probably half of them are. Like, I'm saying it like there's a lot of police. There's like 3. There's worse things that the police can stick their noses into. Like people walking across the street when a car's coming.
Oh, I see.
Anything else I can do for you? Do you have a story for me? Something going on?
Well,
do you have any leads on anything you know about this?
We've just heard a rumor that there was a similar case in another village around here. But,
Well, whatever the freak is doing, he's collecting fingers, I'd say.
Yes. It's rather disturbing, isn't it?
The women, as I recall, they didn't say they'd been used. Just had their fingers taken. Found it weird that they were all bandaged up.
Do you happen to recall which finger was taken from these women?
Oh, I don't know. I think that it's just different fingers. My God, you can hear Clarence from here.
Someone just lost another finger.
Clarence is getting worse.
Awfully sorry, I just stubbed my toe on your printing press. I do apologize.
Anyways, gentlemen, if you've got nothing, I've got some work to do. If you've got nothing else.
Yes, of course. I'll let you get on with things. Thank you very much for your help.
All right. And we got a few minutes left. What would you guys like to do?
Well, I think I'll go and I'll hobble over to wherever we've arranged to meet the others and appraise them of what happened. We'll compare notes, I think.
Okay. So you all meet back up together. What you going to do next?
I would think we would just kind of debrief each other on the conversations we just had. I would like to ask for the conversation with the reporter if there are any incidents that happened to this prior to, the last week or so. Is this kind of a recurring crime, or is this just the first time in recent memory that this has happened?
He had said that it's gone back a couple of weeks, but nothing before that.
So potentially before Clarence and David's arrival.
Apparently. He didn't give you exact dates, but it sounds like it.
But it's a curious difference that in those cases the fingers had been carefully removed and bandaged. Did
he mention if everybody has lost the same finger? I think this goes back to the Mcdougals. One question we haven't asked for what it's worth is, are all the missing fingers the same? Did the attacker remove the same finger? Was it a different finger each time? Was it the same fingers as Clarence lost?
I did actually inquire with the reporter on that, and he had said that he was not 100% sure, but he believes it was different fingers for different prostitutes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while we're in this town, we could. You said there's a small lending library. If they have newspaper archives, we could see if maybe there's any, any other kind of linked crimes that we could find through the paper archives, or any other local history that we could find out in the library.
All right. So I'll leave you with this. You go to the library. It's a small library. Most of the things they have are just things that everybody wants to read for fiction. There's nothing interesting. They do have some newspapers, and you notice that over the last 2.5 weeks, there are what amounts to the lead up articles to the one that you read. This person missed a finger, and then this person missed a finger, and some speculation as to some maniac is cutting off people's fingers, and then the article that you read, which was just from yesterday. So there are a couple lead up articles, but they don't give you any more information. And I think that's where we should end it. You guys are in Halhane, and you've gathered your information, and we'll call it quits there until tomorrow night.
Excellent.
All right. Our players included Levi Carlston, Kurt LeBlanc, Mick Swan, and Jeff Wilkins, with yours truly as the keeper of the secret. Our musical intro, Wrong Turn, is used royalty-free from Purple Planet Music. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. Patrons to our show can now enjoy some recordings of our pre- and post-game conversations. Some of the funniest stuff that we say happens at that time. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month can help a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We like reading them. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all of the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.